Brian Wilson, musical visionary and heart of the Beach Boys, passes away at 82. The music world is shrouded in grief today, June 12, 2025, following the passing of Brian Wilson, the legendary co-founder, songwriter, producer, and creative genius behind the Beach Boys. He died at the age of 82 on Wednesday, June 11, 2025, leaving behind a legacy that transformed popular music and touched the hearts of millions. His family announced the devastating news through a poignant statement on his official website and Instagram, saying, "With deep sorrow, we announce the passing of our beloved father, Brian Wilson. Words cannot express our grief at this moment. We kindly ask for privacy as we navigate this profound loss." No official cause of death was disclosed, prompting an outpouring of tributes from fans, fellow musicians, and cultural icons who are now reflecting on the life of a man whose innovative compositions and soulful harmonies defined an era and reshaped the landscape of music forever. Born on June 20, 1942 in Inglewood, California, Brian Douglas Wilson was the eldest of three brothers, Dennis and Carl, who, along with their cousin Mike Love and childhood friend Al Jardine, formed the Beach Boys in 1961 in the modest suburb of Hawthorne, California. What began as a group of teenagers jamming in a garage evolved into a cultural juggernaut, propelled by Brian's extraordinary talent as a composer, arranger, and producer. His ability to craft intricate vocal harmonies paired with vivid sonic landscapes turned the Beach Boys into one of the most influential bands in history. Their catalog, brimming with timeless hits like Surfin' USA, California Girls, I Get Around, Wouldn't It Be Nice, God Only Knows, and the revolutionary 1966 album Pet Sounds, captured the exuberance of youth, the ache of longing, and the idealized California dream. These songs didn't just dominate charts, they became the soundtrack to a generation and continue to resonate with listeners across the globe. A prodigy shaped by sound and struggle. Brian Wilson's early life was a tapestry of brilliance and hardship. Growing up in a musically inclined but dysfunctional household, he faced the domineering and often abusive control of his father, Murray Wilson, a frustrated musician who became the Beach Boys' first manager. Murray's harsh discipline left deep scars, but it also fueled Brian's escape into music. A childhood accident at age 3, reportedly caused by a blow to the head, left him nearly deaf in his right ear. Yet this limitation sharpened his auditory perception, allowing him to dissect and reimagine sounds in ways most could only dream of. As a teenager, Brian immersed himself in the intricate harmonies of the Four Freshmen and the lush productions of Phil Spector, teaching himself piano and studying music theory with an almost obsessive dedication. By the time he was 16, he was already composing original songs, blending jazz-influenced chords with the raw energy of rock and roll. In 1961, the Beach Boys were born when Brian, inspired by the burgeoning surf culture of Southern California, wrote Surfin' with Mike Love. The song, recorded in a makeshift studio, became a regional hit and landed the band a deal with Capitol Records. At just 19, Brian was not only writing and singing but also producing, a rare role for a young artist in an era dominated by label-controlled production. The band's early hits, Surfin' Safari, 409, Shut Down, and Surfin' USA, tapped into the carefree spirit of 1960s youth, with Brian's knack for catchy melodies and layered vocals setting them apart. By 1964, the Beach Boys were a national sensation, rivaling the Beatles with chart toppers like I Get Around and Fun Fun Fun. Their appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show and packed concert halls cemented their status as America's premier pop act, with Brian as the visionary steering their sound. But Brian's ambition stretched far beyond 3-minute surf anthems. He saw music as an art form capable of conveying profound emotion and complexity. In 1965, inspired by the Beatles' Rubber Soul, he set out to create an album that would push the boundaries of pop. The result was Pet Sounds, released in May 1966, a work of staggering beauty and innovation. With songs like Wouldn't It Be Nice, God Only Knows, Caroline No, and Sloop John B., Brian wove introspective lyrics about love, loss, and yearning with orchestral arrangements that incorporated unconventional instruments, theremins, harpsichords, bicycle bells, and even barking dogs. The album's lush harmonies and meticulous production were unlike anything in pop music at the time. Paul McCartney called it a revelation, later admitting it inspired the Beatles to create Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Critics initially met Pet Sounds with mixed reactions, but its influence grew, and today it's widely regarded as one of the greatest albums ever made, a cornerstone of modern music. The rise and fall of Smile. Following Pet Sounds, Brian embarked on his most ambitious project yet. Smile, an album he described as a teenage symphony to God. Conceived as a concept album blending Americana, psychedelia, and avant-garde experimentation, Smile was meant to surpass Pet Sounds in scope and innovation. Collaborating with lyricist Van Dyke Parks, Brian crafted a suite of songs, Heroes and Villains, Surf's Up, Cabin Essence, that pushed the limits of pop with modular recording techniques and surreal imagery. But the project unraveled in 1967. Overwhelmed by the band's skepticism, Capitol Records' pressure, and his own deteriorating mental health exacerbated by heavy drug use, Brian abandoned Smile. The collapse became one of rock's most enduring legends, with bootlegs of the unfinished sessions circulating among fans for decades. The myth of Smile only grew, cementing Brian's image as a genius whose vision outpaced his time. Brian's personal struggles defined much of his life. By the mid-1960s, the relentless demands of writing, producing, and touring led him to withdraw from live performances, focusing solely on studio work. His schizoaffective disorder, later diagnosed, brought auditory hallucinations and crippling anxiety, worsened by his use of LSD and other substances. In the 1970s, Brian's mental health deteriorated further, and he became reclusive, battling addiction and weight gain. During this period, he fell under the control of psychologist Eugene Landy, who was hired to treat him but instead exerted a manipulative influence, isolating Brian from his family and bandmates. Landy's controversial 24-hour therapy regimen kept Brian in a fog of medication and control, a dark chapter later depicted in the 2014 biopic Love and Mercy. Despite these trials, Brian's love for music never wavered. Even in his lowest moments, he would sit at the piano, crafting fragments of melodies that hinted at the genius within. A remarkable comeback. The 1990s marked a turning point. In 1988, Brian released his first solo album, Brian Wilson, a modest but significant step toward reclaiming his career. His marriage to Melinda Ledbetter in 1995 was a lifeline. Melinda, who met Brian in 1986 when she sold him a Cadillac, became his fiercest advocate, helping him break free from Landy's control and encouraging his return to music. With her support, Brian released albums like Imagination, 1998, and embarked on global tours, performing Beach Boys classics and new material with a talented backing band that included his daughters Carney and Wendy Wilson, members of the pop trio Wilson Phillips. In 2004, Brian achieved a lifelong dream by completing Brian Wilson Presents Smile. Reconstructed with Van Dyke Parks and his touring band, the album was a triumph, earning a Grammy Award and universal acclaim. Performing Smile at London's Royal Festival Hall, Brian received standing ovations, with critics hailing it as a vindication of his vision. The Beach Boys later released their own version, The Smile Sessions, in 2011, further cementing its status as a masterpiece. Brian's later years saw him tour extensively, often playing Pet Sounds in its entirety, and he collaborated with artists like Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. His 2014 biopic Love and Mercy, starring John Cusack and Paul Dano as Brian in different eras, introduced his story to a new generation, earning praise for its sensitive portrayal of his struggles and triumphs. A legacy that transcends time. The Beach Boys, under Brian's creative helm, sold over 100 million records worldwide, with more than 30 top 40 hits, from the exuberant Surfin' Safari to the wistful Kokomo. Their music transcended the 1960s, influencing genres from indie rock to hip-hop. Artists like the Rolling Stones, Fleet Foxes, Tame Impala, and Frank Ocean have cited Brian's work as a touchstone. His ability to blend joy with melancholy, simplicity with sophistication, made his songs universal. In My Room became an anthem for introverts. God Only Knows, a declaration of eternal love, and Good Vibrations, a sonic marvel that still sounds futuristic. When news of Brian's passing broke, tributes flooded in from every corner. Bob Dylan wrote on X, "Brian Wilson heard music no one else could. His songs were a gift to humanity, a window into the divine." Elton John shared, "I owe so much to Brian. His melodies were sunlight, his harmonies a dream." Paul McCartney posted a heartfelt statement. "Brian was a friend, a collaborator, a genius. His music lifted us to a higher place, and it always will." John Cusack, who portrayed Brian in Love and Mercy, tweeted, "Brian Wilson was music itself. His soul sang through every note. Rest in peace." Brian Eno called him the architect of modern pop, while Questlove wrote, "Every harmony I ever wrote owes something to Brian." Surviving Beach Boys members Mike Love and Al Jardine shared their sorrow. Love wrote on Facebook, "Brian was my cousin, my collaborator, my inspiration. His songs painted pictures and sound that will live forever." Jardine added, "Without Brian, there'd be no Beach Boys. His heart was in every chord we played." Fans gathered at the Beach Boys' star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, leaving flowers, handwritten notes, surfboards, and candles. On X, fans shared personal stories. "In my room got me through high school," one wrote. "God Only Knows was our wedding song," another posted. A viral video showed a group of fans singing "Surfer Girl" outside Brian's childhood home in Hawthorne, a tearful tribute to his legacy. The final years. Brian's later years were marked by both celebration and challenges. After the death of his beloved wife, Melinda Ledbetter, in January 2024, his health declined significantly. Court documents from 2024 revealed a diagnosis of a major neurocognitive disorder similar to dementia, prompting his family to appoint Leanne Hard and Gene Sievers as co-conservators to ensure his care. Despite these struggles, Brian remained a beloved figure. The 2024 documentary Brian Wilson, Long Promised Road offered an intimate look at his life, tracing his journey from a shy boy in Hawthorne to a global icon. Directed by Brent Wilson, no relation, the film featured interviews with Brian, his friends, and admirers like Bruce Springsteen and Taylor Swift, who called him a poet of sound. His daughter, Carney Wilson, shared a moving post on Instagram. "Dad gave us the sound of summer, but also the sound of his heart. His music was his way of saying, 'I love you' to the world. Thank you for singing along." Brian's 7 children, Carney, Wendy, Dakota, Daria, Delaney, Dylan, and Dash, were by his side in his final days, ensuring he was surrounded by love. Fans worldwide held impromptu vigils, from Los Angeles to London, playing his music under starry skies. A fan in Japan tweeted, "Brian's music made me feel like California was my home, even 5,000 miles away." A life in harmony. Brian Wilson's music was a bridge between the personal and the universal, the fleeting and the eternal. His songs captured the human experience, love, loss, hope, resilience, in ways that transcended time and place. From the sunlit beaches of California to the quiet corners of fans' hearts, his melodies carried a magic that felt both intimate and infinite. He was a dreamer who heard music in the everyday, a car engine, a wave crashing, a lover's sigh, and turned it into art. His struggles with mental health and personal demons only deepened the poignancy of his work, making his triumphs all the more inspiring. For a YouTube video, this narrative offers a rich canvas. Open with a montage of the Beach Boys' 1964 Ed Sullivan Show performance of "I Get Around," paired with a voiceover. Brian Wilson, the soul of the Beach Boys, gave us the sound of endless summer and a legacy that will never fade. Include stills of Brian at the piano, the band on California beaches, and clips from Pet Sound sessions, if public domain or licensed. Show footage of his 2004 Smile debut at London's Royal Festival Hall, where audiences wept during Surf's Up. Highlight fan tributes at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, with flowers and surfboards piling up. Use royalty-free music inspired by the Beach Boys' harmonies to underscore the narration, avoiding copyrighted material. Trace key moments. Brian's childhood, the creation of Pet Sounds, the Smile Saga, his battles with mental health, and his triumphant return. Quote fans on X like, "Brian's music was my safe place growing up. Forever grateful." Include a timeline. 1942, Brian born. 1961, The Beach Boys formed. 1966, Pet Sounds released. 1967, Smile abandoned. 2004, Smile completed. 2024, long-promised road documentary. 2025, Brian's passing. Close with, Brian Wilson didn't just write songs, he wrote emotions, dreams, memories. His music will echo for generations. Rest in peace, Brian. Invite viewers to share their favorite Brian Wilson song in the comments and stream Pet Sounds to honor him. Brian Wilson's life was a symphony of harmony and heartbreak, genius and grace. He leaves behind a catalog of over 30 top 40 hits, albums that redefined music, and a spirit that continues to inspire. As we bid farewell to this musical titan, his words from God Only Knows ring true. His music, his love, his legacy will endure forever. Rest in peace, Brian Wilson. Your songs will sing on.